Okay, students, we have to continue with our chapter of ecology, relationship of organism with one another and with the environment. In our last lesson, we briefly studied about biotic and abiotic factors. Today, we will go into their detail, how temperature, light, oxygen, pH, how it affects plants and animals around us, that we have to see today in detail. Our first point is of temperature, and we have to see how plants cope up with the adverse temperature effects. It may be low temperatures or high. We see that in plants that formation of underground storage organ is there. When temperature is not favorable, plants make up underground storage organs to survive that period of time. We also see that they shed leaves. Shedding of leaves decreases the loss of water by transpiration. You all know that stomata are present in the leaves. So if temperature is high, what do plants do sometimes? Some of the species, they will shed off their leaves so that the number of stomata automatically reduces and the rate of transpiration also reduces. We also see the formation of seed. Seed is a structure. We will go through it in our chapter of reproduction in plants. You will see that seed is resistant to heat, drought, and cold. And just before the unfavorable environment, plants tend to make seed to survive that period of time. We also see some physiological activity changes in plants and animals. Their metabolic activities also changes during summers and winters. It's a common observation that during summers we tend to drink more water and eat less, while in winters we tend to eat more and drink less. Our physical activity is also affected by temperature. So temperature is an abiotic factor which affects both animals and plants. Next is the other abiotic factor, that is water. Again, we will see its effect both in animals and plants. You would have seen that the animals that live in dry conditions where there is deficiency of water, for example in camel, we see that they store water in their body and can survive long period of time without it. Now, I told you about xerophytes. Xerophytes are the plants that can survive in shortage of water. There are certain adaptations that they acquire so that they can survive that period of time. What do they do is they shed off their leaves to reduce transpiration, as I told you in our previous slides, that reducing the number of leaves or curling up or coiling of the leaves will reduce the rate of transpiration as you decrease the exposed surface area to the environment. Some of the plants would have thick cuticle, or their stems would become fleshy and succulent for storage of water, as you have seen in the plants of cactus. Then there can be reduced number of stomata. Sunken stomata, as in marram grass. I will show you marram grass adaptation in our next slides. Their stomata is sunken deep down so that it is not exposed to the external atmosphere. There can be grooves or crypts that bear tiny hair-like structures which will trap water which is coming out from the stomata through transpiration. What it will do, it will increase the humidity around the stomata, and you know whenever there is high humidity there will be reduction in the transpiration rate. So okay, here I have shown you some diagrams of some xerophytes which are adapted to survive in shortage of water. Here you can see the example of a plant which has fleshy, thick stems and leaves and can store water in them. This is the marram grass you often see in dry regions of your part of your country. This grass is adapted to survive in this period of time or this region by having these structures. If you see here, the hair-like structures The root hairs are there to trap the molecules of water so that the area around it becomes very humid. When the area becomes humid, the rate of transpiration would decrease. You also see that the stomata are located in the sunken area so that they are not quite exposed to the external surfaces or external environment of the dry weather. Leaf hairs are there. In this diagram too, I have shown you here that they are clustered together so that they can trap water and make the area humid, reducing the rate of transpiration. This is again a close diagram of this plant showing you the adaptations. If you see closely, there are root hair cells which are clustered together here to trap the water molecules, making the environment very humid so that less water is evaporated from the surface. Next point is of water again, abiotic factors, but the plant type are hydrophytes. Hydro means water and phytes stands for plants. So what we will see here, these are the plants that are adapted to survive completely submerged in water, as in the case of hydrilla. Completely submerged plant is hydrilla, and this is its diagram. This is the plant which is completely submerged in water. Then is partially submerged water, for example water lily. Water lily is partially submerged, some part of it is in water and the flower is above the water surface. And then there is free floating water. This plant is shown here in this diagram. These are free floating plants that can survive while floating on the water.